When working with Drupal, anything with a URL is a page because everything in Drupal is dynamically generated. So the URL for a node, whether it's an aliased URL or the underlying numeric node URL, could be used where you wish to assign a specific page, whether that be to a menu or whether it be as some specific page, like, as we'll see, the front page or error pages. You could also assign the URL of the display of a view wherever you needed a URL. Similarly, you could also assign a user page wherever you were going to assign a URL. Again, if we need to specify a particular page or assign one of these to a menu. Now, error and message pages could also be created using the basic page content type, which is one of the two content types available as soon as you install Drupal. Simply give it a title and assign it appropriate content. Now, if you are going to use something like a view for something as potentially high volume as the front page of your site, you might want to configure cache settings. As we'll see in a moment, you can use time-based caching either for the queried data and or the rendered content that's being displayed for a particular view. Now, if you want to assign one of these URLs as the front page, you can do so on the site information page under configuration. Simply provide the path relative to the root of the site, and that becomes your new front page. Similarly, 404 and 403 error pages can also be assigned on the site information page using a path relative to the root of the site, again pointing to whatever URL is relevant for your site for these purposes. Let's go in and walk through this. So in my site, the first thing I want to do is take the book grid, which we'd created earlier as a view, and I want to use that as the front page of my site. Well, it's easy enough to do. Here's the path relative to the root of my site. I'll copy that, go to the configuration page, go to site information, and paste that path as the default front page of my site. Once I save this configuration and return to the front page of my site, now I'm seeing my book grid when I browse the root of my site. But if I'm going to use something like a view for the front page of my site, well, caching could be an issue. Otherwise, you might be running a lot of queries and generating a lot of output. So I'm going to go in and edit my book grid view, and I'll open the advanced settings, scroll down, and locate the caching setting. I'll click where it says none and say that I do want to assign a time-based cache. I'll apply this, and I'm going to assign, in this case, for example, a short 5-minute cache for my query results, as well as for the rendered output for the displays of this view, working to strike a balance between keeping the site updated as new content is added, while at the same time improving the scalability of my site by caching some of this content in memory rather than continuously generating it. I'll go ahead and apply this change and save the change to my view. Now, if I added new books to my site, it would only be updated every 5 minutes, but you could adjust the cache accordingly. Next, I'm going to create two basic pages. I'm going to create a file not found page. We're sorry, your requested page is not available. And I will save that. And then I'm going to grab that path relative to the site root, go to my configuration site information page, and assign this as my file not found page. I'll save this, go back to the root of the site, and now if I attempt to browse a page which doesn't exist, I see my file not found page. Similarly, I could create a basic page to display an access denied error. We're sorry, you do not have permission to view this page. I will save this, copy the path, go to my configuration site information page, and paste it here. Although as I do so, notice what has happened here. You'll find that Drupal, for these two pages, 403 and 404, if you use a URL alias, it will go and grab the underlying literal node reference and replace it here so that it's not having to rely on the URL aliasing system when rendering 403 and 404 errors. I'll save this configuration, go back to the main page of the site. Now if I log out of the site, I see my access denied page. The reason for this is because we had assigned a role-based permission to the book grid, which we're now displaying as the front page of our site. I can change this by going to Structure, Views, edit my book grid, go back to the role-based permission under Page Settings, and set the permissions for my book grid to none. I'll save this setting, go back to the main page, log back out of the site a second time, and now I see the book grid as an anonymous user.